Let me get this clear. George Clooney is rumoured to have a cameo in the Flash movie, but Henry Cavill is nowhere to be seen. Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Smash the like button if you love me. Subscribe if you're new. Please have your say. A very warm welcome to Monday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. It's another week here on Movies TV Mad. So a few weeks ago, we discussed the rumour that George Clooney could be cameoing in the Flash movie. So this conversation has come up again because not only is there a rumour of a total brand new ending in the Flash movie, but also a secret post-credit scene. So let's give you a synopsis for this mysterious post-credit scene. The Flash, Barry Allen, is in a new timeline. When we see the credits roll, we get a post-credit scene, and Jason Momoa's Aquaman and Ezra Miller's The Flash are talking about Batman in The Flash. It turns out the Batman they're talking about, or basically the Batman that shows up in the bar, apparently, according to rumours, is George Clooney's Batman, or maybe George Clooney's Bruce Wayne. Who the fuck knows? It's more likely probably it's George Clooney as Bruce Wayne, but it could be George Clooney as a totally new character. Who knows? So there's a few scenarios here. It's a gag. Some scoops are saying it's just a gag, right? It could be that Barry Allen's gone, here Aquaman, let me quickly take you through the Speed Force and take you to another universe. They're sitting in a bar, George Clooney turns up, and then they go back to the new timeline they've set up. The James Gunn brand new timeline that Barry has created now after fixing Flashpoint. But that doesn't make a lot of sense. I tell you what, the irony isn't lost on me if ruthless James Gunn has fired Ezra Miller after the Flash movie and dumped him in a timeline with the worst Batman of all time. But what makes this rather confusing is that basically Jason Momoa's Aquaman is in this new timeline and trapped in this new timeline before we've even seen the movie Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. If this is true, then this is something that's going to confuse fans. Now, I'm going to confirm something for you that I shouldn't really be confirming. It's a kind of spoiler. It's something that I've seen already many months and moons ago. This scene between Aquaman and Ezra Miller's Barry Allen has been around for a very long time. This was part of the original version I saw in the test screening. What I didn't see was any George Clooney, but a scene in a bar between Jason Momoa's Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman, and Ezra Miller's The Flash, Barry Allen, is a scene that's been there all along. Now, ultimately, the original confirmation, or conversation, should I say, was that, Barry's wondering where Henry Cavill's Superman is, and, Aquaman doesn't really understand what he's talking about. Because basically, Barry's changed the timeline, so the people there can't remember the original timeline. It seems to me that they may have reworked this conversation. So, I do believe the rumours of George Clooney's Batman or Bruce Wayne cameoing in the Flash movie is a thing. But the question remains, as I've already asked, are they actually stuck in this new timeline? Because it's pretty clear, and we've had this conversation before, but because these rumours have resurfaced about this mysterious secret post-credit scene, we have to ask the question again, because if Barry and Aquaman are in this timeline of George Clooney, it's not James Gunn's brand new DC Universe timeline, it's a totally new timeline. It means you'll never see Ezra Miller and Jason Momoa in the new DC Universe as these characters. Jason Momoa is rumoured to be James Gunn's Lobo. That's a different thing entirely. But as Aquaman, if he's stuck in this George Clooney shit DC universe, then that's it. He's not playing Aquaman anymore. So it's obviously a rumour at this point. I want to be clear that advanced screenings did not show any post-credit scenes, neither at CinemaCon or the advanced fan screenings haven't shown this. They've also put in a fake ending. Nobody knows, apart from the people who made the movie, and maybe one or two scoopers, how this movie actually ends. I don't know how the theatrical cut of the Flash movie ends. I know how the test screening ended. I don't know how this movie is going to end. Now, James Gunn has already confirmed many months and moons ago that he did make changes to the final part of the movie and the ending. So if Ezra Miller is trapped in the George Clooney Batman DC universe, this is going to be very, very controversial to people who like Ezra Miller. I've mentioned it before that the Snyderverse stands are very ready to criticize James Gunn about his problematic tweets, but they're not happy to be honest and direct about the conduct of Ezra Miller in the real world, because they need Ezra Miller to play the Flash if they're ever going to get the Snyderverse restored. They still stand Ezra Miller's The Flash. Now that's a problem to me, because I can sit here and say to you, yes, Ezra Miller is a great Barry Allen and Flash. It's not someone I would have cast for the role. I think that Grant Gustin is a much more superior version to the Flash and Barry Allen than Ezra Miller is. That's just my opinion. That's just how I see it, and I think that's how many people see it, considering we've had like 7 shit seasons of The Flash. Grant Gustin has done a remarkable job as an actor to kind of keep that shit going, because it has been shit for around 7 or 6 seasons in that show, and it started off so well. But if Ezra Miller is trapped in the George Clooney DC universe, that means he's been removed from the new DC universe. And as I said earlier, this shows you how ruthless James Gunn is. Now, many months and moons ago, again, he said any of the leads of this year's DCEU movies could play a part in the future. But he didn't say they could play a future as the characters they're playing. He just said they could play a future. Well, we know it's pretty certain that Jason Momoa is going to play Lobo. Most probably he's going to turn up in Superman Legacy, because Lobo is mainly a villain in the Superman universe. So that makes a lot of sense, and that's very exciting for DC fans and especially Jason Momoa fans. I'm a Jason Momoa fan. I think he's a great Arthur Curry. I think he's a great Aquaman, even though he looks nothing like the comic book version. I think it's the one time that they rewrote history in Hollywood and it actually works. But it's clear that James Gunn wants someone else to play Aquaman. That's even if he deals with Aquaman anytime soon. Because before Zack Snyder cast Momoa, Aquaman was deemed as a bit of a joke. So it was actually Zack Snyder and James Wan that brought respectability to Aquaman. What they did with Aquaman and Jason Momoa must be one of the biggest miracle acts in adaptation history. They took a joke of a fucking character and made him respectable. They made him respectable in the Snyder Cut, and James Wan made him respectable in the first Aquaman movie. He's respectable again in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. That's something that should never ever be disrespected. And I think Gunn will make Aquaman a bit more of a joker and back to what he always was in the comics as well. So I think that they're definitely looking to recast a more comic book accurate Aquaman. And so that would make sense to see, Momoa's Aquaman and Ezra Miller's The Flash being stuck in George Clooney's universe. Let me be absolutely clear to other platformers and YouTubers trying to make the assertion that George Clooney is going to be James Gunn's Batman. This is never, ever going to happen. James Gunn has already said that George Clooney is not his Batman. He would have to be fucking mad to make George Clooney his Batman. It's never, ever going to happen. So I'll explain the scenarios if this is true again. Either Aquaman and Barry are temporarily in this universe as a little trip. They're sitting at a bar having a drink and then they go back. Or this is where Barry is after Flashpoint. He's stuck in another universe. And that would go to show you that maybe they don't tease James Gunn's new universe. Or maybe they do. Because don't forget, they put in a fake ending in the screened movie that a lot of you guys saw at CinemaCon and advanced fan screenings, or a screening, however many there's been, or has there only just been one, which people went to last week. So what you could be seeing in the ending is the new universe without Ezra Miller, and then when we go to the post-credit scene, we see Ezra Miller again in a brand new universe, which is George Clooney's DC universe. And if him and Momoa are there, that means more than likely they're stuck there and we're not going to see them again. Well, we are going to see Jason Momoa again in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Now, we haven't even seen a trailer or a teaser, really. We've seen some behind the scenes stuff of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I've seen a test screening. There is still a little part of me that thinks that Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom may be shelved. That maybe they think this film is going to tank so fucking hard that they may dump it. Now, they're talking about this movie coming, but we haven't seen any promotional material yet. More than likely, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom will be released. But there is a little thing in the back of my mind that says that they're still considering in shelving this movie. And having Momoa's Aquaman trapped in George Clooney's universe with Ezra Miller's Barry Allen kind of froze kind of a spanner in the works of potentially seeing him again in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. As I say, it's a little theory. More than likely, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom will be released this December. I hope it is. I hope we see a polished theatrical version and everyone loves the movie. But I think there's still a little chance that they may do another shelving and a tax write-off. We will see what happens there. But as I say, it's just a little a theory of mine, and I could be absolutely, totally wrong. Now, I want to talk about Henry Cavill for a little bit as well. Henry Cavill has paid the price for having huge opinions on the geek stuff he works on. He was removed as Superman because they simply couldn't work with him anymore. He has too much of an opinion. Even when he was confirmed to be returning as Superman, he was doing interviews saying, I want Superman to be this, I want Superman to be this, I want Superman to be the other, making really big statements in how he wants Superman to be. Now, he left The Witcher because he's a fan of those games. He's a gamer. We know that. He's a nerd, he's a geek. He has specific opinions on how Superman and The Witcher should be. Very similar to what happened with Daniel Craig after Quantum of Solace. He threatened to leave the franchise because Quantum of Solace was a shit show. From that moment, they were allowing him to go out and choose directors and directions of the James Bond franchise. And ultimately, I don't feel it ended up that well. And that's why No Time to Die ended up so shit. Listening to actors totally and giving them, creative control is a problem. It's bad enough being a writer-director with a vision. Then you've got an actor in your ear 24/7. Nah, they wouldn't do that. Oh no, well in the game he does that. It's very unsettling. Look, coming from someone who's creative like me, I don't mind sitting around the table talking to actors and they say to me, Mick, maybe the play can do this, maybe the play can do that. Maybe my character can say this and that. It seems more believable. I don't mind that. And if it makes sense, I'll listen and I'll change what I'm writing. But Henry Cavill is someone who has decisive opinions on what his characters should be. He's not necessarily wrong. But this is why he finds himself not playing Superman anymore. It's a bit more complicated with Superman because he is Zack Snyder's Superman. But let me ask you a question. Why is Ben Affleck getting a swan song in the Flash movie? I've asked you this question before, but Henry isn't. Because Henry fell out with Warner Brothers. And that's why he's not going to be James Gunn's Superman. They don't want. James Gunn is a concise writer-director with his own plans and vision. He don't want anyone in his ear. Now, from what I've heard from actors who work with him, I've been told that, he'll sit with you, he'll listen to you, but ultimately he's someone with his own vision and he'll listen to you and he'll make change little small things, but no concise, artistic writer-director can sit there having someone on them all the time. But there's been kind of some stuff coming from The Witcher. People saying that the new Witcher with Liam Hemsworth can be as good as it is with Henry Cavill. And it can be even better without Henry Cavill. This is dumb from New Hollywood. The only reason people watched The Witcher was for Henry Cavill. Removing him was a big problem. And it's over for The Witcher. Now, I've never played the Witcher game. I watched the first episode and I quickly realized that The Witcher was more about the female than Henry Cavill's The Witcher. I realized this in the first 10 to 20 minutes of the first episode. I haven't seen an episode since, and Cavill's not stupid. He could see they baited and switched The Witcher. It was fucking obvious. It's happening all over every new Hollywood project, and it's becoming a problem. Henry Cavill is a fan favourite. Henry Cavill, people still want him to play Superman. People still want him to be the Witcher. And it's not going to happen because he has concise opinions. And Hollywood hate actors like Henry Cavill who create problems. Henry Cavill doesn't care about money. The problem, you heard from people like Grace Randolph that Henry was a diva and wanted too much money. No, Henry Cavill got less money than Ben Affleck in BVS, and he didn't say boo to a fucking goose about it. In Man of Steel, he got less money than Amy Adams. Now, personally, I think he should be getting paid less in Man of Steel than Amy Adams, even though he's playing Superman. Amy Adams is one of the most iconic, legendary, talented actors in Hollywood history. Who was Henry Cavill in the first movie? He was a nobody. It's right. Christopher Reeve gets less money than Marlon Brando and Gene Hackman in the first Superman movie. In fact, he gets third fucking billing. You don't see Christopher Reeve's name in those credits in the opening iconic credit sequence until the words Superman come up to afterwards. And that's right. So I don't think money was ever a problem for Henry Cavill. It's the creative element. He doesn't like the characters being fucked around with and changed and having their history rewritten. And this is the problem Henry Cavill finds himself in. Now, he's still being announced for a lot of films. I think he's still getting roles. I've noticed that maybe he's going to be out of the Highlander reboot. Very, very interesting. And so, was there the same problems there? And so I think Henry Cavill is finding problems for himself within his career because he has too many opinions. But the problem is, You know, there's always a space for actors not to have creative control, because I don't think an actor should have creative control. It's very important. I'm a writer and a director of plays. I'm also someone who acts in plays as well, my own plays, right? So I understand what it's like to be an actor, a writer, and a director. On a lower level, of course. I'm nothing special, and I'm not trying to say that, but I know what it's like. And you can't have an actor in your ear constantly. There's certain things that actors can do. For example, someone like Terry O'Quinn, who played John Locke in Lost. It's clear this guy wasn't just memorizing his lines. He understood the soul of that fucking character. It's so compellingly fucking played. It's the same as Matthew Fox, who plays Jack in Lost. You can see these actors have an understanding deeply of these characters. So I'm sure there was conversations between them, Damon and Carlton, to make sure that everyone understood what they were doing. But ultimately, the visionaries are the ones who get the last word, because it's their vision. So you can listen to the advice and opinions of actors, but at the end of the day, Henry Cavill doesn't get to decide how Superman is. He doesn't get to decide how The Witcher is. Now he can have little insights and add nuances within his performance and change little bits and pieces about his script, that you can't allow an actor to have total creative control. It just doesn't work for the piece, and this is the reason why Henry Cavill is no longer Superman and Henry Cavill is no longer The Witcher. But is it right that George Clooney gets a cameo, according to rumours, in the Flash movie and Henry Cavill doesn't? It is absolutely fucking outrageous. Whether he has an opinion on this, that or the other, he should have at least had the opportunity to say goodbye to the fans, because the guy turns up to work. He has a work ethic. He cares. He's not on Twitter. He's barely on Instagram. He's not talking about his politics. He's not talking about white men. He's just doing his fucking job. We need more people like Henry Cavill in the business who cares about the characters that he's playing. But the point is, it's bad enough that they brought him back and then said, nah, we don't want you now. It was all a lie anyway. We just did it to upscale the dwindling box office receipts of Black Adam. And it didn't help anyway. Or maybe it did. Maybe it would have made less money if Cavill didn't appear in that post-credits scene. But I feel that Henry Cavill's Superman should have absolutely appeared in the first act alongside Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, who appears, and Ben Affleck. If they're in it, why isn't Henry? It doesn't even make fucking sense. What happens when Barry incites the Flashpoint universe is different, right? We're talking about the opening of the movie, the Earth 1, which pretty much continues either from Justice League or Zack Snyder's Justice League. You can pick and fucking choose, right? You'll see the movie and find out for yourselves. But the point being that also there's a lot of problems with Cavill's Superman, and none of them have anything to do with Henry Cavill. If he turns up in the Flash movie, does he wear the blue and red costume? Does he wear the black costume? That's the problem. There's going to be certain sections at WB who don't want him to wear the black costume. Snyder fans are going to be upset if he doesn't wear the black costume. When we saw him in the post-credit scene of Black Adam, those conversations started from Snyderverse stands. There was already uproar because they were using John Williams' Christopher Reeve Superman theme. And I understand that to a point. It wasn't a big deal to me, but I can understand why people were upset. And this is why Henry Cavill being involved is very problematic unless you restore the Snyderverse and bring back Zack Snyder. And at this moment in time, it's not something they really want to do. So these are the complications of bringing Henry Cavill back as Superman. And this is why James Gunn said, nah, I'm doing my own thing. I can't be arguing with these people 24/7 whether Henry should be wearing Zach's suit, a new suit, a black suit. Then they're going to be shouting at me for not continuing the Snyderverse and not allowing Snyder to do his Justice League 2 and Justice League 3. The whole thing is a clusterfuck. So James Gunn said to himself, do you know what? I can't be dealing with this. I don't think that Gunn contemplated at all in continuing with Cavill or Batfleck. Although funnier things have happened, who knows? But it looks very, very unlikely considering what we know to be happening in the Flash movie. But it's obvious why Gunn wanted to do his own thing. James Gunn is going to do his own thing. Because I think, apart from the Suicide Squad actors that he cast, his Peacemaker, his Bloodsport, all of them, you know, he ain't using much more from the DCEU. Apart of, and, you know, obviously Viola Davis, Amanda Waller, why would you... This is why he's not doing a full reboot. Why? Who else can play fucking Amanda Waller better than Viola Davis? So these elements do make sense, even though I feel it would have been wiser to do a full reboot. I understand. But if you look at Casino Royale, basically that movie is a full reboot. It's a new timeline for James Bond. But they still use Dame Judi Dench as a different version of M. So you can literally do a full reboot and use whatever actors you want. And James Gunn's going to be doing this. I mean, he's already claimed he's doing this with Henry Cavill and, you know, other actors in the, you know, the pre-existing DCEU as well. So that's more than likely. So you can do a full reboot and use the same actors, even sometimes as the same characters. Again, look at Dame Judi Dench in Casino Royale. That's a full reboot. There's no flashpoint. There's no timeline change. It's just a reboot with no explanation. And that worked perfectly well. Again, like Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, who's better than Judi Dench as M? You're not going to get better than that. And they haven't had better than that. Because once you have that perfect casting, it's very, very difficult to find someone who can do it better. And so I wouldn't want to see anyone but Viola play Amanda Waller. So that's the reason he's doing a soft reboot, because he wants to use the Flash movie as a kind of timeline change. But he can also pull things out of the old DCEU, not just with his wife and his Suicide Squad team, but other elements he wants to use as well. It gives him options and it makes it more of a multiversal franchise as well. And also you can use DCEU cameos in his new DC universe. So that's a great move as well. So at the end of the day, I look at Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's now on a 730 million global. When I look at some other movies and how badly they're doing, and other MCU movies, James Gunn is doing remarkably well. So no, he's never made a $1 billion movie, but it's pretty clear the audience like James Gunn. Now, obviously, the Suicide Squad didn't make any money. And we know why it didn't make any money. It was day and date, and there was a really, really big disease going around, or, you know, virus going around back then. But I think Superman Legacy will fare a lot better than James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I think people are going to come out and support Superman Legacy. I think look, there's a big difference between writing and directing a movie and being in control of an entire universe. There's going to be an element of responsibility with James Gunn. He knows he has to set this thing up properly, and this is last chance saloons for Zaslav, Warner Brothers Discovery, to create something utterly special. And they can reignite the excitement in IPs, because right now, people's interest in IPs is dwindling, and there's no question about that. But we don't care about IPs on a whole. We care about the DC Universe IP. I want to see great DC movies. I want to see the DC Universe be great and successful, and I want to enjoy them. I want to see DC Elseworld movies that are willing to do anything at any time and tell lots of different comic book Elseworld stories. Now, potentially, something really exciting can happen here. We don't know what's going to happen at the end of the day, but we are here, we are waiting. I go in with an open mind, as I keep on saying, every day, because at the end of the day, I love DC. I want DC to do well. I'm not here for any particular director. I'm here for DC. This has been Monday's edition of the DC Universe Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful collection. Smash the like button if you love me. Subscribe if you're new. Please have your say. I will see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.